I never gave ghost stories much thought. Not until that winter I spent at the Grayson Inn. The Grayson was one of those places you drive past without meaning to, tucked into the pines at the edge of a fading town. Stone walls blackened with age, crooked chimneys coughing smoke into the cold air, and a porch that creaked like it carried 100 forgotten footsteps. Travellers still stayed there, businessmen, hikers passing through, but locals avoided it when they could. The whispers were always about room 6. They said people heard tapping at the walls, woke to find the candle burned low when they'd left it full and fresh. Some claimed to even see a shadowy figure in the dark. I was there on assignment for a travel column, looking for an angle. Small-town hauntings, historical oddities, places that made good stories. And when the innkeeper handed me a brass key marked 6, I smiled. Perfect. He hesitated, though, fingers lingering on the key. "You sure you want this one?" he asked. "Why not?" I grinned. He gave a tight smile that didn't reach his eyes. Guests don't usually stay more than a night in there. I thought he was playing along, adding to the charm. "Room 6 it is," I said. The hallway smelled like old pine and cold air. I passed faded portraits of unsmiling faces and stopped at the door, the brass 6 tarnished and worn. I unlocked it. It wasn't much. A narrow bed, a faded rug, a wooden desk under a cracked mirror. On the nightstand sat a single white candle, tall and unused. "The power flickers sometimes," the innkeeper said behind me. "Might want a backup light." "Good to know," I said, and he left. I unpacked my notebook and laptop, setting up at the desk. But as night fell and the wind rose outside, the power indeed gave out. Just like he said. I laughed to myself, struck a match, and lit the candle. Its glow filled the room with a soft, yellow warmth. I found it oddly comforting. The storm outside battered the windows, but in here it felt cozy, safe. For a while. Hours passed. I wrote, occasionally sipping the coffee I'd brought up, the candle burning steadily beside me, until the door creaked open. Just an inch. Just enough to let the wind nudge it. I turned, heart skipping. The hallway beyond was dark, empty. "Old hinges," I muttered. I shut the door, double-checked the lock, and sat back down. But when I turned to the window, my stomach dropped. Another candle, sitting on the windowsill. Burning. I hadn't lit it. I hadn't even seen it before. The window was latched from the inside. I stood, slowly walking toward it, heart thudding in my ears. I blew the candle out. The room fell back into shadows. And then, softly, the bed creaked, like someone rolling over. I spun, shining my phone's flashlight at the bed. The sheets were rumpled, but I hadn't touched them since I got there. A chill settled over me. I told myself it was the cold draft, the wind, exhaustion. I shook it off, slipped under the covers and closed my eyes. But I couldn't sleep. Around 2:30 a.m. something woke me. A faint scratching. At first I thought it was tree branches against the window, but no, the sound was coming from the desk. I sat up. The candle was burning again, and in its soft flicker, I saw it. A figure, sitting at the desk, its back to me. Motionless. I couldn't speak, couldn't breathe. The figure turned its head slowly, impossibly slow, and where its face should have been, nothing. A hollow void, dark and empty. I bolted upright, grabbed my coat and phone and fled into the hall. The inn was deathly silent. I nearly tumbled down the stairs and burst through the front door, gasping in the icy air. I spent the rest of the night in my car, locked inside, engine running to keep the heat on, watching the dark outline of the inn, waiting for sunrise. When morning finally came, I gathered my things and went to the front desk. The innkeeper looked up as if expecting me. "I'm done," I said. "Room 6. There's something wrong up there." He just nodded. "Most people don't last a night." "Why do you keep it open?" He sighed. "Some stories don't end just because you ignore them." I frowned. "The candle, the figure, who was that?" His expression darkened. "There was a writer," he said quietly. "Stayed in room 6 50 years ago. Came to finish his book, never left. They found him slumped at that desk. Candle burned down to nothing. Unknown cause of death, they said. But locals, they think he's still waiting for someone to finish what he started." I shook my head. "No way. What I saw, no one could imagine that." He slid a guest ledger toward me. "Check the names." I flipped through. Every few years, a new guest in room 6, and next to most of the names written in the margin in shaky handwriting, didn't finish. Suddenly the quiet felt suffocating. I packed my car and left without another word. But the story didn't end there. That night, back at home, I opened my laptop to write it all down. I couldn't let the story die. But when I opened my files, there it was. A document I hadn't created. Titled Chapter 1. It was blank, except for one line at the top. "Still waiting for you." My stomach knotted. I slammed the laptop shut. And that's when I noticed something else. I wasn't in my study anymore. I was back in room 6. I raced to the door. It wouldn't open. The handle refused to turn no matter how I pulled or shoved. My phone had no signal. The window stuck shut. And then, behind me, I heard the soft scrape of a chair sliding across wood, followed by the quiet strike of a match. The room filled with the scent of candle wax burning, and in the mirror across the room, I saw it. A figure, sitting at my desk, waiting. The candle flickered beside it. Fear gripped me like I had never felt, and I realized something I wish I hadn't. I wasn't leaving until the story was finished. Maybe not ever.